Hello and welcome to this video for the Eurovision equinox between Eurovision 2025 and Eurovision 2026. This is the first video that I am uploading to my channel that I may personally choose to unlist at some point in the future, so if anything out of this video is of worth to you, maybe save the link for yourself. I would quite like to start with the positives, even though there are a lot of negatives to address as well during this Eurovision equinox, just to get off on the right foot for the season and hopefully keep that positivity going as the season continues. Robin, that's very nice, but you are just out of frame. That's okay. The 2025 season was overly stressful, unnecessarily so, a lot of the time. However, it was also still a very positive experience for me overall, due to a number of factors. My first true Eurovision accreditation, the lovely people I've met across the season, meeting over half of the artists and having gone to a few of their solo shows now. Just overall it has been a very, very pleasant season. Based on lots of the small moments, lots of the bigger things were issues, especially Israel participating. I do not think Israel should be at Eurovision currently, but I will go into more detail later within this video. I've been to a Catharsis gig in Vilnius. I have seen Gojo and Zoemir perform in Hamburg, and I will see Zifferblatt performing in Hamburg. I considered going to the Berlin show, but I was just too tired in that time, so I didn't. Now they are coming to Hamburg as well. And I've also been continuing to see other Eurovision artists, of course Joker Out, who I am going to see next week and the week after. Daddy Threa, who was an incredible performer. I don't know why I didn't go to any of his shows sooner, and I will definitely be doing so in the future. Those shows were unexpectedly great to me. I knew he's fantastic, but the amount that I enjoyed the show was a surprise to me, so much so that I went to another stop on the tour as well. And then also Nemo. I've seen Nemo a couple times in the last few weeks, at the Reeperbahn Festival in mid-September, and then in Berlin at their listening party where I got to speak with them for the first time, and it was very lovely. And then at the Hamburg show, where I also got to speak with them because they were coming in and out of the venue. And I don't know if that was disorganisation or just the chillness, but they're always very lovely and always seem to have time for everyone. And obviously this is Nemo merch as well, the Unexplainable t-shirt. And there's obviously more events upcoming, such as Het Grote Songfestivalfest next week and Eurofesta in December. We are getting the Albanian songs next Friday, which is lovely. That means we will have our first official Eurovision 2026 song at the latest by then. However, because Albanian is likely to get revamped and translated into English, not always though, Zierm was fantastic the way it was. And Montesong is coming up soon too, so we'll have those songs. At the start of December we should be getting probably the Estilao songs, maybe the Supernova songs, so there'll be songs coming imminently. There's a few very vocal Polish artists wanting to go to Eurovision, and also the Polish fan community is very vocal in creating fan polls and things like that of who should represent Poland. The most recent one that I followed from, I think, Eurovibes was Michał Szpak. But of the artists with a specific song, the one that's gone the most viral, I think, has been Przemek Kucyk's Polska Góra, which is interesting. He has been performing it as, I believe, sold out Polish tour, so he must be able to perform it live to an extent. I must admit I haven't sought out those videos, but everyone who I've shown this song to does seem to enjoy it, even if they're not Polish, and Polish people also enjoy it. There's a few jokes in there that only work if you do know Polish, which I find interesting, but you know, if it works, it works. I think he'd be an interesting Polish representative, and he really seems to know his stuff for Eurovision, so hopefully he'd also do a good job at it. And we have one official artist so far, that being Antigone from Cyprus. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I will learn with time, I promise. People know her from Love Island, apparently. The UK version, I assume. I have no idea about that. I know her from being the opening act for Marina Sati over the last few months. I saw that on quite a few people's stories, and so I'd already sort of figured she might be making her way to Eurovision at some point. Didn't realise it'd be so soon necessarily, but yeah, figured this was coming sooner or later. She seems very confident, so I'm curious to see what she'll deliver for us, but I don't know much more about her, and I haven't listened to any past music. However, the elephant in the room, why is there only one artist? Well, because there are a lot of uncertainties about Eurovision 2026. Usually we would have maybe 3 or 4 artists by this point in the year, depending on the year. Obviously Belgium is not organising a national final this year because they had one last year, so usually they'd have announced their artists by now as well. Maybe a couple other countries. Yeah. 1 is quite low. To get a very long and very winding story relatively short and relatively straight, there will be a EU General Assembly at the start of December where presumably a vote will be held as to whether Israel should or shouldn't participate at Eurovision 2026, or potentially into the future as well. Probably just Eurovision 2026 though. Side note, I do hope that they release the results of that EU general discussion before they release Eurovision 2026 tickets, as they said they would be ready for Christmas. So it'd be pretty rude not to. A few countries have announced their return to Eurovision 2026 as well. Romania, Moldova, Bulgaria. Why now? Well, I believe the EBU is preparing for something. I don't believe that a final decision has been made on Israel's participation at Eurovision 2026. However, they are definitely making moves to have as many countries as possible at Eurovision 2026, the 70th anniversary. And that's where the sane and logical and absolutely true part of the story ends. It's definitely a good idea to have as many possible countries for an anniversary year. However, there are also 2 conspiratorial routes you could take when considering why these 3 countries are returning now after various lengths of absences, especially considering a comment out of Romania that the EBU made adjustments to their invitation, which suggests to many people that the participation fee is either lower or can be paid in installments over a longer period of time. Someone might say that a couple of countries returning could cover the departure of a few other countries. There are a few countries suggesting that they will be pulling out of Eurovision 2026 if Israel does stay, regardless of even kept to ceasefire or not. The ones that are the most important in terms of Eurovision, in terms of the finances, in terms of the viewership, are Ireland, the Netherlands, and obviously Spain as part of the Big Five. Those countries leaving would leave a massive statistical and financial gap in Eurovision 2026 numbers. That's the first option, that a few countries are coming in to replace a few other countries. However, the other, more logical to me, conspiratorial view on this is that those countries are there to replace Israel at Eurovision 2026. Once again, I do believe that no decision has been made as of yet. No decision 100% anyway. However, I do believe that the EBU is preparing for one of 2 options. And this second option seems much more logical to me, as the viewing numbers, the most accurate viewing numbers that we have for Moldova, Bulgaria and Romania put together, and the viewing numbers for Israel together, do roughly equal the same amount. They're both in the 500 to 600,000 range, broadly speaking, of people actually watching Eurovision. So that would be a much more logical explanation to me, especially because Israel pays a slightly higher fee than these countries probably, with it being a richer country, and these countries potentially getting a discount for Eurovision 2026. That just seems like the logical route to me. I hope I'm right. That would be fantastic for me. Obviously, the most important thing would be that the ongoing horrors in Palestine are stopped, come to an end once and for all, though that doesn't seem very likely with the long history and the unkept ceasefire even now. But in terms of Eurovision, a Eurovision 2026 without Israel would be the dream for me, to put it in vibes words. And the numbers do just add up better. However, the EBU hasn't always been logical. We shall see in 2 to 3 weeks what does actually happen, but I'm choosing to somewhat stay on the side of hope, and if that is indeed what happens, I'll be very, very happy. As far as I can be within just the realm of Eurovision. And should Israel stay for Eurovision 2026, I truly do not know what I will do. So that's just a fair warning to those who might care. I genuinely can't tell what I'll do. I imagine I will still go to events such as Eurovision Concert and probably cover the national finals, but I don't know if I could talk about Eurovision 2026 as a concept. Specifically, we'll have to wait and see, genuinely, because I just don't know, and the last 2 years have been harrowing enough just for me, who sits here in peace and relative safety. But I don't know if I can deal with a third, so genuinely we'll just have to see. And I didn't really want to leave this video on such a downer, so I've got one last thing I would like to share with everyone, if you would like to indulge me. As you can see here, I've got a wall of bracelets that are partially from other people, partially that I've made myself. And I'd just like to mention that if you too are feeling this Eurovision blues but don't want to leave the Eurovision world completely, that I highly, highly, highly recommend going to various Eurovision concerts, whether that be singular artist concerts or the aggregate concerts and events such as Headquarter Songfestivalfest, some OGA club meetings, or things like Eurofesta, or even the pre-parties when we get around to it. There are so many lovely people who I've met across the 2 years now that I've been going to these Eurovision concerts and events, and is just really, really lovely every single time. I now have pretty much for every concert that I've gone to, there's at least one person there who is my go-to person for that artist now, if I ever have a question or if I want to see what that artist is up to, because they follow them at many of their tour stops. And it's just a really, really lovely sense of community building. You do at some point start running into the same people in different countries at different shows, and you think, wow, this Eurovision bubble really can be small. So if you haven't been going to concerts and you have the means to, please come join us and let us expand the Eurovision bubble. It is really lovely. Next week I'll have at least 3 concerts in 3 days in 3 cities in 2 countries. But that's an extreme example. I think last year I had about 16 in total. This year I don't even know, I haven't counted, but it's probably also high teens, low 20s. Though I must admit, the September to December period is full of more concerts than average this year. It's about up to 14 between September and December. Probably a few less, because I still haven't decided yet on some concerts whether I'll be going to them next week or not. But yes, if you have the means to, please do come. They are a great time, these shows. And if you spot me, come have a chat. I often have bracelets with me. I often have badges with me as well that I've made for the various shows. These are still left over from Basel that I've slowly been giving out at other events I've been to. And that is everything that I wanted to say in this video. Usually this video would be titled the Happy Eurovision Equinox video, because that is what today is. Today is the exact midpoint between Eurovision 2025 and Eurovision 2026, the grand finals anyway. However, it does not feel appropriate to call this video Happy anything when it comes to Eurovision right now, and I hope that that changes in 2 to 3 weeks. So, thank you ever so much for watching this video. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe consider leaving a like, leaving a comment with any of your thoughts on any of these topics. But please remember to stay kind, and if you think there's someone else in your life who would enjoy watching this video, feel free to forward it on to them as well. That's Robin scratching herself, hence the bell jiggling. I'll leave you there. Please subscribe to the channel if you feel like it, if you feel like seeing my videos again, though I do have some issues with YouTube myself at the moment as well. And I will see you in the next video when the verse shows up on your feed. Bye! Hello and welcome to this video for the Eurovision Equinox zwischen... Ja? Bestie, chodź tu! No, that's a scream.